Hello everyone and welcome to today's WorkSafe Month webinar. I'm Stephanie from WorkSafe Tasmania. Before we start, please take a moment to read the following slide about information received today. To interact in today's webinar, please use your control panel to type and submit questions for today's webinar. Questions will be answered throughout today's presentation. Today's webinar is also being recorded and today's presentation is also part of WorkSafe Tasmania Month. Only presenter and moderator webcams will be used. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Rachael Downie. Rachael is a success mentor and someone who is truly focused on converting your thinking into results. For the past decade, she has worked with government, corporate teams and individuals, helping them to educate and set goals to make lasting changes, creating the results you want. Rachael began her career as a teacher with a background in agriculture and hospitality and branched out into consultancy and leadership. Rachael works with a variety of individuals, businesses and CEOs with both locally and internationally, simply because we all have the same blockages, doubts, limited thinking, money and staffing issues. Rachael loves helping you creating success, not only in your business, but in other areas of your life as well. Welcome, Rachael.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are you happy to hand over and I'll kick things off?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Oh, well, I'm delighted to be here with you all and sharing this information with you. I know it's something that I've been sharing probably for the last 7 years now, and the changes that have occurred in my life in creating this order in my mind, and then all the clients and people that I've worked with is it's truly astounding. So one of the key things I love about sharing this first slide is it's all about creating order in your mind. So it doesn't matter where you come from, what age you are, it's understanding, what is actually going on up here? What mental conversations are you having every day about things? And is it a bit of a jumbled mess? Or are you in control of where you're thinking and where you're wanting things to go? So particularly in today's world, there's lots of things externally that are going on, be it in work or social media or in the news, that we can also get caught up in that can impact how we feel about what we're doing in our personal life and in our professional life. So I would love to shed some light today on how we can create some order for yourself in your mind. So my expectations for all of you are just be open with the information that you receive today. And if there's an area of your life that, comes up as I'm speaking, just focus on that. Really the work for you to do is after this. I can share this information as knowledge and inspire you, but in order for it not to just dissipate into an hour that you've invested your time in, really think about what you would like to do with it moving forward. So there is a handout that I'm going to use as we step through this. If you're able to see it easily, that's great. If not, I'll have it on the slides so you can just write some notes as we go through in this hour today. So we're just going to work these slides so I can get them sorted. Has anybody felt like this before in their business, their work, or their life? Have you ever felt like you are overwhelmed, under the pump, like there is just so much you have to do? I certainly know that this is how I used to show up. And quite often this is where I would be, didn't matter what was going on, but you could be in react mode rather than learning how to come from the place of responding. Now, feeling like this is going to impact not only your mind, but your body as well when you're continually feeling frustration, overwhelm, perhaps resentment. So it's learning how can we shift and change that feeling so that you can actually turn up in a different way where you get to choose. That we actually have a choice of how we think, how we feel, and then the actions that we take. So putting a bit of a pause button on what we've learned up until this point in time to making a decision from today moving forward of choosing how you would like to be. So in today's webinar, what we're going to cover is setting you up for success, moving forward in your work and your life, and setting the right type of goal. Understanding the part of your mind that holds you back in your thinking, and also then some key habits that are going to help move you from where you are right now to where you want to be. And it all starts with you just being willing. We've got about 90 people on the call today, and I was chatting with Stephanie about the number of people who had enrolled, who'd come in here for attendance, and you're of the 55% that are showing up for yourself today, which is a great statistic. Generally, it's a very small percentage, so it's great that you're turned up for this information for yourself today. So I really want you to get something that you can use moving forward. So just a little bit of background about me. I'm not quite sure what's happened there, Stephanie. Could you perhaps control those slides for me and just go back? Just lost you for a moment. This is just a little bit of a background around me. This was not who I was 6 years ago, 7 years ago. My husband and I run a dairy farm where we're milking 1,000 cows, and we've been running that for the last 20 years, and we have 4 children. And I was teaching, so I was what I now call a reformed workaholic, perfectionist, and control freak. So that slide of me pulling my hair out was how I was operating day to day. And when I learned how to shift my mindset, I was able to create some very different things for myself in my work and also my life, enough that was able to give me the courage to leave, my teaching profession and move into something else. So when I came across this information and shifted things in regards to how I felt about myself, the concept I held, money, bringing more money in, as well as feeling actually a lot better about myself, this was something that I wanted to help other people to be able to create the success for themselves in their work, their life, their business, and in their families. Could we go to the next one, please? So it all comes down to this question of, what do you want? Now, when I've worked with clients before, this is a question that many struggle to be able to answer, because they've had mental conversations in their mind of, I have to go without, I really don't know what I want, has been the constant answer. And so part of this process today is just getting you to turn towards what you want, both personally and professionally. And when I'm working with people, I love to get them to start off with a list of 50 things. And I'm going to get you to start that list shortly. And it can be really daunting for some people. And the reason that we use 50 things is because the creative mind kicks in at about 30. But our logical mind, our intellectual part of our mind, will get to about 8 of, oh, I'd really like a new job, or I might like to go on holiday, like to renovate the house, like to upgrade the car, whatever that might be. And we get to about 8 or 9. And they'll go, oh, I really don't know. So I myself struggled with this question, and I shifted the question to, well, what have I justified to myself that I've had to go without? So that also can be a really good way of flipping this. But understand, it all starts with a desire. What is it that you would really love? What would bring more joy into your life? Now, if we think of Steve Jobs, he had the idea of bringing the phone into the world. It started off with an idea. It was something that he saw in his mind. Now, he could have easily rejected that idea and gone, oh, it's just not possible. I couldn't possibly do that. Or where am I going to get the money from? Where am I going to get the time from? Where are the people going to come from who could actually help me bring this into the world? Now, imagine if he'd done that. We wouldn't have this amazing thing. There was a time when we were, sitting in a chair beside a wall with a phone plugged into it, to now being able to be in the car or in the airplane and being able to use a phone. This was based on him believing it was possible. So there's a lot of ideas that have come into your head over your lifetime that you've rejected based on what you believe is true for you. And so I want to help shift a little bit of that perception for yourself so you don't keep rejecting things that you would like to do. So this is the first sheet in the handout, and it says, be very clear on your goal and where you would like to go over the next 6 to 12 months. What I'd like you to do is just focus on this first part. Don't go down to the second question. I just want you to focus on the first part. And I'm going to give you about 3 minutes just to start initially writing down your list of 50 things. So I'm going to put a little timer on just for 3 minutes. I really encourage you to spend a lot more time with this, and with the time limits and constraints that we have today, I really like to share this information, encourage you to put this beside your bed or put this in your office somewhere where you can keep adding to it. And it's one of those things that it's a really easy thing to do, and it's a really easy thing not to do. So I really encourage you to commit to doing this. And as you're writing things down on this list, you'll notice some conversations in your head, that little voice in your head that starts talking to you. It's either talking you out of something or talking you into something. What I want you to do is put that voice aside, notice that it comes up, but continue to write down things that you would like. All right, I'm going to put the timer on now, and then we'll come back.
And just for everyone, the handout is sitting in the handouts window on your control panel.
Just got 1 more minute.
And if anyone has any questions for today's presenter, Rachael Downie, please use the questions window in your control panel, and those questions will be answered throughout today's presentation.
Excellent. So what I want you to do is have a look at the next question. What do you think is going to stop you from doing this? So everything that I'm talking about today are the mental conversations that you run in your mind, how they serve you or how they sabotage you. So you may have put up there, it's something that you would like would be to spend more time looking after yourself, okay? Maybe having some more me time, for example. What do you think is going to stop you from doing that? And it could be a simple thing of not scheduling it into my calendar. not putting the time in. Now, these are really simple things. So what I really teach through this material, none of it is rocket science, but we can overcomplicate things by just not implementing and scheduling. So a lot of the things that you've perhaps put on your list are tasks that you can do, or things that you would like to do, but they've got to take some form of action, or they'll just stay on that list. And so what I want to help people to do today is learn how to close what we call the knowing doing gap. You know that there's things that you need to be doing, but you're not doing, or you've been talking yourself out of them. So that little voice that's in your head, I know that for myself, I thought I was the only one that had it, but the reality is we all do. And the majority of the time, it would be the conversations you have with yourself, you wouldn't actually say to your best friend, right? We tend to be our worst enemies. And we want to learn how to control this voice for the outcomes that we want in life rather than the other way. So let's having a look at the next slide of moving forward. Success for you ends up being, we can have a phenomenal plan. And I work with a number of businesses who have great strategic plans, but they're not implementing them. Why is that? It's having the right mindset, and working with so many businesses and workplaces now, understanding how much of the impact is from mindset. It's about, I believe, 95%. Everything else, when you've got the right mindset, can then be implemented with the right plan and with the right action. So it's not just about the knowing, it's about the doing and what you implement. So those first two questions were perhaps about starting this plan of what you would like to create. But what are the mental conversations you need to have in place in order to talk yourself into what you want? And then also, what actions do you need to take to help you to move forward from here? And one of the things that I love is something called the 3 Ds. You either do it, you delegate it, or you ditch it. Do the things that you love and start giving yourself permission to delegate or ask for help in areas. And then there's just some things that are on that list that you're never going to do. So just ditch it. I was a big list writer, and the realization is, if you are, that way, and you've got these lists consistently and every day of actions that you're going to want to take, and it can be quite overwhelming at times. The reality is that list is never going to be finished. The only time it's going to be finished is when you're dead. So you're always going to have something on that list. So you want to be able to look at the list and go, what is it that I need to do? What can I delegate? And then seriously, what can I ditch? And understand you can prioritize those things by going, well, what is my goal? What is it that I want? Are the things on this list helping me move forward towards what I want in my life, or actually moving away from what I want? So the delegation can be much linked with the asking for help. And if you come from a mindset where it's not okay to ask for help, or I've got to go without, or it's meant to be hard, this is meant to be difficult, then that can be the work that needs to be done, that you can just be, using something of, it's okay for me to ask for help. Okay. And what I've found for most people that struggle with being able to ask for help is that they are massive givers. They give freely to others in the workplace, in their personal lives, but don't give the others the opportunity to give back to them because they're not comfortable asking for help. So there's a lot of information that I'm sharing today that I'm hoping will resonate with many of you, that you go, oh gosh, that's so me. And you're right, well, what can I do with this moving forward? And it is just a matter of getting a little bit uncomfortable and going, okay, I can ask for help. The whole world's not gonna, end. It's okay for me to ask for help. And we need to be able to do that because it gives somebody the opportunity to be able to give, okay? It's two sides of the coin. So the 3 Ds, delegate it, ditch it. So these are just a range of some of the industries that I work with, from building and construction industry to scientists to CEOs to, I think I've got a tattoo artist on there, the tourism industry, martial arts, insurers, broking, all around Australia and internationally. Now, the key of me putting this up there is, what do every single one of these people have in common? Well, nobody has ever taught them how to use their mind. In my 21 years of education, not once did somebody tell me how to use my mind. And in my 15 years of teaching, not once did I teach a student how to use their mind. And in the last 7 years, all I'm doing every single day is teaching people how to use their mind. And it is a powerful tool. And most of us use our imagination against ourselves, and we've shut down the creative part of us. And many people have just done that automatically. And so it's tapping back into parts of our mind and understanding how we can use it better. So 2 things that you must know how to change your results moving forward. So where you are right now and where you are going. So we started off looping back to, where are your goals? What is it that you're wanting to achieve personally and professionally? And where you're going, having a destination is really important. Otherwise, it's like being in a car park going round and round in circles and not knowing where the exit is. So that is the important point. The exit for you becomes, what is it that I truly desire? What is it that I would love? And then when we start looking at our goals, the problem actually doesn't become that the goals are out of our range or out of our league. It's where we are that is the problem. And I've become known as the Queen of Paradigms, because that's what I'm helping people to create understanding around. Now, in the leadership world of paradigms, I sort of understood it on an intellectual basis, but not really how to change what our paradigms are. And that's what I'm going to help you understand today. So a paradigm is a mental program that has got almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. Almost all of our behavior is habitual. So what I'd love you to do is put down your pen if you've got one in your hand. I want you to cross your arms as you'd normally cross your arms. And I just expect, because I can't see you all, is that you're all doing that, okay? And then what I would like you to do is, I want you to cross your arms the other way. And I want you to notice what's different. It's a little bit slower. Your mind is actually, having to think about what it is that you're doing, and you're having to, oh, hang on, which arm needs to go where? And then what do you want to do? You want to go back to your old way of doing things and go back to where it's comfortable. And this is what we do with all of our life, okay? We want to go back to where it's comfortable, because as human beings, we're creatures of habit. However, we also want to grow. We always want to do more, have more, be more. So we've kind of got this conflicting paradigm where we want to grow, but we don't want to get uncomfortable. So 96% of our behavior is habitual, and we want to understand what is serving us and what is not. Where does this come from? So our beliefs, our behaviors, and our habits, they come from our parents, their parents, and their parents. You may have even found yourself saying things and going, oh my goodness, that sounds just like my mother or my father. Where does it come from? Well, that becomes genetic, as well as one environmentally, what you've been exposed to growing up. So for me, my experience, was, a family that really lacked confidence, that lacked self-worth, that really didn't believe that they could do better than what they were doing. But there was something in me that had a desire to do more. But I still, in my subconscious beliefs, didn't believe that I was good enough. I wasn't confident enough, and I had to shift and change these core beliefs, because they were impacting me in all that I did, whether it be in meetings where I wouldn't speak up, or I'd speak up and feel really uncomfortable, and then understanding what are the fears that are limiting you. Because our fears, we only have 2 of them when we're born: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling, and everything else is made up. And so understanding this for yourself of, how are you limiting what you are actually allowing to occur for you in your life based on the mental conversations you are having, and they're happening whether you're aware of them or not. So the paradigm sits in our subconscious part of our mind, okay? So these become our beliefs. We had a belief once that humans couldn't fly. but somebody believed that they could. And the Wright brothers created, the aircraft that we now have the ability to fly in. You may have a belief that you have to work hard, that you can't afford it, or you don't have enough time. And these were key beliefs of mine that I learned how to shift and change, and I've helped many others to do the same thing. And it's learning that if you've heard of, say, affirmations before, those affirmations could be said 10,000 times, but unless they're mixed with a feeling and a belief, they won't do anything. So the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about what we're trying to do is rewire our mind with new neural pathways that you start to believe and understand. You can change anything, but you need to understand first that you have a choice. And instead of getting to a point where you're just dissatisfied, completely overwhelmed, it's about being able to take charge of things moving forward. And I'm going to share a diagram as we move through here that will explain this a little bit further. So my slides have seemed to have moved around a little bit with the change from moving into PowerPoint into here. So I apologize if you're noticing that they're not right. So it's understanding, how do our paradigms impact us? Well, they impact our perception, how we see the world. Do you look at it from one way, or are you able to see that there could be 360 degrees of different ways of looking at things? Our use of time, there's 24 hours in a day. We can never manage our time, we can manage our activities and learn to become more productive and more effective. Because one of the key things in working with people is that we procrastinate, and there's a lot of time that we waste through procrastinating. Our creativity. Have you ever heard somebody say they don't have a creative bone in their body? It's not true. We're all creative. Or have you heard people say, well, I'm not very smart? Well, that's not true either. That's part of a mental conversation, okay, that can be changed. So when you learn to, manage activities, then you will become more productive, more effective, and this can really impact in a work environment. So I share the example of, it can be like, imagining if you're going out on a hot air balloon with your team. And everybody's coming with their own fears, their habits around procrastinating. And, if you could imagine that those sandbags represent that. Each individual's, levels of procrastination or use of time, or how they see themselves in a negative light. As you start to create new conversations in your mind about yourself, and you start to shift what is possible, it's like these sandbags can be released from the hot air balloon, and the hot air balloon increases and rises. And that's what it can look like in a business, in a workplace, and in your life, in seeing things shift and change and increasing in a very positive way. Your ability to earn money can also shift and change, particularly in say in workplaces and things where you don't believe, you've got to work hard, you've got to go without, there's never enough money. And this is one of the reasons that I wrote the book that I shared there, was because I had to shift my own mindset around this. Being on a farming environment, there was never enough money and you had to work really hard, versus now creating the opportunity to have more time. There was a time, I think, for at least 10 years where we never went on holiday and worked 7 days a week, because that's just how we'd been conditioned. So this is saying try harder. And this is what happens for most of us. We are waking up every single morning with the same thoughts, the same fears, and the same despair. For many people, it's just like crossing their arms. They'd like things to be different and come from an element of hope that it can be, but waking up and the same each day. Now, one of the habits I got into was trying to wake up with a smile on my face. And it took quite some time to shift that so that I could start the day coming from an attitude that I was choosing. So the smile came on my face, but I had to practice it, because it wasn't something that was the norm. I had to create that as a new pattern, because we promise to try harder, but we go back to our old way of doing things. If we keep doing the same thing over and over, we're going to get the same result. It's Albert Einstein's definition of insanity. And that's where I had got to. It didn't matter how much time, how much effort I was putting into what I was doing, I just couldn't seem to move ahead. But when I understood how much my mindset was impacting the results in my life, that's when everything changed. Understanding how my paradigms were serving me or where they were sabotaging me. And I heard this story about a fly buzzing up against the window on its last day of its life. All it's doing is trying to get out. Now, it can see freedom on the other side, but it continues to buzz and buzz and buzz, wasting its energy, trying to get through that glass, doing the same thing. But all it needed to do was shift and look to the direction of where there was an open door. What makes it persist in doing the same thing over and over? It's going to die there on the windowsill. It's learning that we need to do something different. We've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and start to be disruptive. Start doing things that are different, and it will cause a different result. So just like on a plane, there's something called the automatic pilot. That's a cybernetic instrument that on the plane, it actually 90% of the time is working. And that plane, if it's flying from, say, Australia to Heathrow, it's off track 95% of the time, but this cybernetic instrument brings it back on the path. And this is how our paradigms work for us in our life, with our time, our money, our relationships, our health. We are controlled by this thing called a psycho-cybernetic instrument. And there is a fabulous book by a man called Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics that explains exactly what I'm talking about, how we can control this psycho-cybernetic instrument in our mind to create different results in our life by learning how to override the paradigms and create a new concept of ourselves by shifting the mental conversations that we're having. So I wanted to identify today and share with you a few limiting beliefs and thoughts that you may or may not have. And what I've found with some people who I call unconscious competence, they're very successful in what they do in life and in business. They're not even aware that people come from this thinking space because they don't. So if you're one of these people, I'm wanting to shed light on to this is how the majority of people think. They have these negative limiting beliefs and thoughts. It could be along the lines of there is so much to do. I'm so exhausted. Have you noticed how we introduce ourselves these days? Hi, how are you going? Great, I'm so busy. Oh my God, I'm so busy as well. It's like we're justifying the level of busyness that we've now got down to. One of the first things I do with people, if that's something that they're very familiar with saying, I'm like, that's bad. You're going to start saying, I'm calm and relaxed and have all the time I need. And it really creates some phenomenal shifts. I did this with a group of engineers over a 2-week period, and they thought it was a bit funny to start with. But after 2 weeks, said to me, oh my God, it is surprising, isn't it? Even just shifting that one thought and telling myself that I'm calm and relaxed and have all the time I need, I actually felt different and I felt like I was more productive. If you're in a workplace or a business where I just can't get good staff, if I go into a business and they've got great staff, they never say that they can't get good staff because they've always got good staff, and that's the conversation that they're having. What if I fail? What if I speak up in a meeting and somebody thinks badly of me? Oh, I couldn't possibly deal with that. Or I don't have enough money. I'd really like to go on that holiday, but I just don't think I've got enough time. I couldn't possibly ask for help, and I covered that a little bit earlier. Or I'm stuck. Are things ever going to change, or is this what it's going to be like for the next 30, 40 years of my life? How am I ever going to get all of this done? So it's
Rachel, can you
learning.
just repeat the Sorry,
Yes.
Rachel, can you just repeat the name of the author that you mentioned previously? I think it was Max.
Yeah, it's Maxwell Maltz, spelt Maltz, last name Maltz, and the book is called Psycho-Cybernetics.
Thanks.
That's right. So it's understanding, recognize what are your common thoughts that you are having. And if you're not aware of them currently, listen to yourself. What is the spoken word that you are saying? I'm sure most of you on the call would agree that you've said, I am busy. Okay. And so it's about learning if you can just shift that one of going, well, I'm not going to get any more time. Absolutely. There's 24 hours in a day, but you know, there's people out there that are doing more than you. What is it that they're doing? How are they thinking differently? Just change that one thought. And this is also what Maxwell Maltz is, talking about as well. Changing the concept that you're holding of yourself. So your paradigm has got enormous influence over all these areas of your life. And if you're able to shift them, the results can be enormous. Okay, your ability to earn money, that perception, your use of time, creativity, effectiveness, your productivity, and your logic. It will impact other areas of your life as you focus on creating just changes in one. I can remember when I found this information, I was so excited about it because I could identify all the things that were wrong and I was wanting to create all these new habits, and it all just got overwhelming again. So I really encourage, if any of this is resonating with you, only work on one or two things to shift. And then when you've created that as a new habit, then move on to the next one. Sorry. So I want to help you identify the part of your mind that is holding you back. Something will have resonated with you today. And when I move into this diagram, I just absolutely love this. I've shared it with clients' children from the ages of 7, 8, all the way through to people in their 70s. And it's something that is so simple, but it can give a great understanding of the mind. So the actual diagram is from my mentor, myself, Bob Proctor, who recently passed away. So this is sourced from him, but it actually came originally from a man called Dr. Thurman Fleet, who back in the 1930s worked in the holistic health industry. And he said, we're treating symptoms, not the cause. We need to go back to what the cause is. And he talked about the cause being in our mindset. So this simple little circle here is called the stick person. And the large circle represents our mind and the small circle represents our body. The reason why the mind is bigger is because every thought and feeling you have causes your body to either take some form of action or no action. Okay, and we want to understand that here, I haven't got it here, you're all welcome to take photographs of this as well as we're stepping through it. But if you do, you want the word choice written here, just where I've got that arrow going. We have an opportunity to be able to choose how we are thinking. Are we coming from a place of worry and doubt, or are we coming from a place of understanding? So when I came across this diagram personally for myself, I realized I was a massive action taker. So I didn't have any problems with getting out there and doing stuff, but I certainly had times where I would certainly procrastinate, and I had avoidance behaviours. If I work from home, so if I was on my 5th cup of tea and I was starting to clean the house, I knew there was something I needed to be doing that I was not doing, okay? But I would come from worry and doubt, worst case scenario. And there was so much where my imagination was amazing, but I was really good at using it against myself. So it's understanding, where are you looking at this? Are you coming from worry and doubt? And if you are, what are the stories that you continue to feed, that you're overthinking round and round and round? This thought then will feed into the feeling of fear. Now, that feeling of fear can be felt in certain ways around our body. And, we can get, I could get to the point where I gave myself stomach aches, the heart would flutter, you could get the sweats, you could be running to the toilet. Sometimes this fear can be a good thing when it's mixed with excitement. It's going towards your goal, where you get this nervousness, excitement. That's when you know you're on the right track, but not when it's debilitating and it takes over and it's impacting you in a way that can be negative. And if it's not expressed, it becomes suppressed. And this is where it can impact the body in a way of health, where we get a body that is at dis-ease. So using a hyphen, not disease, dis-ease. The body is not at ease. And this is what causes disintegration. You know, like that fly up against the window, doing the same thing over and over, getting the same result. It's learning to create a new mental conversation, a new story. Now, the reason I'm passionate about this information so much is this style of coaching and information we used in our own family with our daughter. And she literally came from this place: worry, doubt, fear, stomach aches, expression, the whole lot. She is able to now, so this started at a very young age for her, but now at 16 can self-regulate this by using this diagram and be able to go, Mum, I'm running this story. I know it's not serving me. And we've been able to create other stories that come on the right-hand side of the diagram, which is through knowledge and understanding of how would you like to be thinking instead. Now, this takes repetition. This takes focus. This isn't something that happens overnight. For a paradigm to change, it'll either be through constant spaced repetition, which is, you know, through the coaching and stuff that I deliver, as well as through you know, repeating new stories in your mind, or through an emotional impact. And generally that can be negative through things like the loss of a relationship, perhaps the loss of a job, a health scare. Those kinds of things are enough for you to go, no, I'm not doing that anymore. And you will literally change a belief in an instant. So to move over to the other way of, say, let me use that time again. The worry and doubt of, I'm so busy, I've got so much to do, can create this feeling of overwhelm, okay? Versus if I came out with, I'm calm and relaxed and I have all the time I need, I'm going to create a different feeling. I'm going to be more calm. And when I come from being more calm, my mind works the way it's designed to. I'm not jamming the mechanism of allowing ideas to flow through. Because I'm relaxed, my mind, you know, I basically can give it a command and it will allow my body to feel differently. This means that I have a body then that is at, you know, coming from a place of well-being, that I'm able to express myself, and that I have a body then that's at ease. And like I said, my mind can be jammed when I'm frustrated or overwhelmed. I just need to relax and then allow ideas and things to flow through. And this is where I can tap in to using my imagination the way it was designed to, and to be more creative. So I could probably spend a whole day training on just this. So I haven't got my whiteboard here to be able to step you through this further. But look, there's lots of things, if you look me up, that, you know, I really refer to this. If, you know, if this is resonating with you, happy to go over it with you. So in going back to the worksheet, we had a look at some personal wants, some professional wants for yourself. And as I said, I really encourage you to continue to go back over that. Now, sometimes this can take 3-4 weeks for people to build their list of things that they would like as they're starting to turn towards it. Because if you're like me and you're really good going, I don't know what I want, it's like the tap to your desires has been rusted shut, and, you know, you can't even turn it on. I'm just asking you to start moving towards the possibility of allowing yourself to entertain some desires for yourself. For others, you could find this really easy. And, you know, writing a big list is great. The idea then is we're going to action it. Find out what's stopping you from moving forward. You know, the common things are, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, and I have to check with my partner, or you know, a husband or wife or partner, whatever that might be. And you may find that you've used that as an excuse for yourself in the past, when actually there's a lot of things on the list that you create that you could go out and do now. And the only thing that's stopping you is you. So I work with a number of builders in the construction industry. I love working with them because they use their mind the way it was designed. They have, they go out on site and they look at, you know, like a building, or, you know, wanting to renovate a house. And you will not hear a builder say to you, oh no, couldn't possibly do that, couldn't build that house, wouldn't be able to renovate that. They come from a solution orientated that it's all possible. So what we want to do is create the same thing for yourself of, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. You've got to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. This is my favorite quote, because what we're doing is building a new story for yourself. You get to create it. And you may have things that are working really well, so you might just renovate a few of those things in your mind to be able to create what you want personally and professionally. For others, you might want to demolish it and start again, and that's okay as well. All right? But it's like, I can't keep doing the same thing over and over. I'm going to get the same result. I need to do something different. So for many people, I've got them to put it on a yellow sticky note, stick it on their computer, and have the words "be disruptive." Do something different. So to change this, it's needing to learn how to think to override your paradigm. You've got to identify what they are. What's serving you and what's sabotaging you? Are you someone that comes from a place of feeling guilty all the time? And if you are, I love, again, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how you're literally, that grade 9, 10 science where you get taught about homeostasis. You're used to feeling guilty. So you have to sabotage yourself or do things in order to make yourself feel guilty, because that feeling is literally, you're chemically composed to feel that way. And you may go out and do something that makes you feel really good, and the chemicals in your body feedback go, hang on a minute, Jane, you're not meant to feel that way. You're meant to feel guilty. And you go out and do something so that you feel guilty again, because that's your normal way of showing up in life. So it's one of the key things that I love in working with somebody, and they go, oh, I think it's been months since I felt guilty. And it's a really interesting thing, because this is happening and nobody else can see it, but it's how you're feeling. And in order to shift and change that feeling, you've got to think and choose a different mental conversation moving forward for yourself. So the knowing doing gap, as I said, right now there are things in your life that you need to be doing that you are not doing. And it's becoming aware of what they are so that you can shift and change them. So like I said, let's identify, before we finish up today, what are 1 or 2 key habits that you could focus on for yourself over the next 30 days. So in the top part of this handout here says, what are 1 or 2 that you'll need to create to help you move towards your goal? Now, one of those could be scheduling me time into the calendar. It could be that I'm actually going to create, a new mind model that I do have all the time that I need, or that I am calm and relaxed. It could be that I'm actually going to book holidays. I don't know what that is for you. Usually I'm blessed, I have the opportunity, I have an interactive webinar, so I can't do that with you here today. So I really encourage you to write down for yourself, even if you get 1 habit, what can you work on for yourself over the next 30 days, and understand that you'll need to create some thoughts around that, some feelings around that, and some actions that you're going to take. So that's the next step. What actions are there that I know that I need to take? Because I bet that there are things in your life right now that you've been avoiding doing. And sometimes we spend more time thinking about not doing them than the actual task. There will be people that you need to be getting in contact with that you just haven't done, or you've avoided doing. So as I said, it's about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable for some of these things. It will help you eliminate the procrastination and to be able to create more time for you to be able to do the things that you would love to do for you. So I'm just going to give you a moment. I'm just going to give you 2 minutes to fill that in. And again, as I said, spend a little bit more time, after this webinar is over as well. Just another 30 seconds. Okay. So yes, as I said, I really encourage you in regards to this handout, download it, put it, print it out, put it beside your bed, put it on your desk, use it. This is a bit of a roadmap for yourself that you can use to create a shift for yourself moving forward from today. Creating some order in your mind, moving from surviving to thriving. So what is our recap from today, what we've covered? So we looked at, it's your subconscious mind that controls your results, okay? The paradigms, your habits, your beliefs, your behaviors, and they all reside in the subconscious. Identify for yourself what are some of your negative or limiting beliefs that are standing in your way or that continue to self-sabotage. The information and knowledge isn't enough. We've got to break old habits. So we can't keep doing that same thing over and over. We've actually got to do something different. As I said, be disruptive. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And lastly, what are some actions that you're going to take moving forward from today? So as I said right at the very beginning, don't just let this be a webinar where you come on, you get some information, you get inspired, and then you get off, you go back the next couple of hours and then you forget about it, okay? I really encourage all of you in investing in yourself in this way to do something further. Get clear on what it is that you want for you and start moving towards that. Oh, sorry. So this is my favorite slide. I want you to go out and be the yellow duck. This is about you being you. There is lots of stuff in your life that you really want to be doing and you really want to be showing up as. But we get caught up in how everybody else is doing life, doing work. You have got infinite potential inside of you that's untapped. Paradigms can stand in the way of that. And what I want to help you, each of you, to do is to be able to, tap into that potential of yourself. Really come from a place of shifting your confidence, your belief in yourself as to what's really possible for you, and then go out with this bit of action roadmap to be able to create those shifts, okay? If any of this is resonating with you, I'm more than happy to have a conversation or a chat with you. Look, feel free to reach out. And if there's any questions at all, I'm on here until 3 o'clock. So feel free to pop some questions in. I'm happy to unpack anything further for you.
Thank you very much, Rachael Downie, for your webinar presentation today. And as Rachael said, there's time for questions. So if you do have any questions for Rachael, please use the questions window on your control panel. And for anyone who has been unable to download the handout that Rachael has referred to throughout her presentation today, we will send that handout to attendees following this presentation. So a few comments coming through. Thank you, Rachael, for your presentation. Wealth of really great, easy information to follow. And the yellow duck was appreciated.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Question, how can we manage external factors, for example, patriarchy and glass ceilings?
I think it's a really good question, and I didn't touch upon outside circumstances. One of the key things, that's actually one of the lessons I deliver, is learning how to not react to outside circumstances. So the only thing that we can control is our attitude. is actually our own thoughts, our own feelings, and our own actions. And we can't control those outside of us. But what can tend to happen is we get caught up in the outside. So how would you like to be showing up internally for yourself? What is it, the limitations for you in regards to those two things that cause, angst for you? Versus how could I show up differently to this? So one of the things I'd probably encourage you to do, I go, well, what are my current thoughts? What are my current feelings towards this? And what are my current actions? All right. Then I'd flip the page over and go, ideally, how would I like to be thinking about this instead? What would I like my feelings to be? And what actions could I take instead? So what I'm doing there is shifting my perception, coming from a place of responding rather than reacting, but knowing that I'm in control of me, what I see, what I feel, and what I do.
Thanks, Rachel. Could you explain the relation between success and happiness?
Aha, really good question. I think we have been conditioned, excuse me, that success is all about, getting things outside of ourselves. Whether it's, when I get the house, when I get the right job, when I get this, this, and this, then I'll be happy. I think that we actually all have different definitions of what success is, but there's this external blanket of what success can be. If you ask the question of yourself and imagine being the yellow duck and not the mass consciousness of what is success to me, and actually start there, because success could be, being in my garden every weekend makes me feel successful and happy. The choice of being a mum or being a dad, that creates success for me. It's actually, the success for me is actually choosing to work part-time and balancing my life in a certain way. What is success to you? And the other thing in having, in my own personal life, had to shift my perception around was, if you can be happy first and choose that yourself of, again, as I said, I'm choosing to smile when I wake up each day. I choose in each moment how I feel, how I want to be. Success will follow. So if you can come from being happy first and choose that attitude, success will follow wherever. But we're taught that we have to be successful to be happy when we've actually got it round the wrong way. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Rachel. How do you set new goals when you've now reached the milestones, have the right job, have the right house, have the right car? Need to set new goals, but I'm not sure what they should be or where to start.
Great, awesome question. So I think one of the key things is the word should. Ban that one, get rid of that one first, because that'll actually help you. What should I be doing versus what is it that I really want to be doing? So what I didn't go into in this presentation is that there's sets of goals that we have, and I used to teach the SMART goals, right? But they're goals that we don't tap our heart into a lot of the time. They're things that we kind of know that we can do, whereas you want to really expand into, what is it that I truly desire? What do I really, really want? Money's no limit, time's no limit, none of those things. What would really turn my heart on? And you may not know that right now because it's always been there, but it's been pushed down. So part of it would be just turning towards it. For me, what helped was asking myself the question, what have I justified to myself that I have to go without? What have I justified to myself that I have to go without? And in reframing it as well, it could be, if I knew today, or today is my last day on this world, what would I be regretting that I haven't done? So it's tapping into, if I've achieved all of these things, what would bring me joy? What would bring me joy? What is next? And start listening to the language and shift the language of turning towards possibilities rather than, gosh, I really don't know what I want to do. And you keep giving that command to your mind. So all that you can receive back is, I don't know what to do. Versus, I know exactly what to do. It's getting clearer day by day exactly what it is that what's next for me.
Thanks. And then finally, how to shift the feeling if I ask for help, I will lose my independence.
Okay, so I would say that's probably a belief. You have a belief that if you ask for help, that you're not being independent. What if you could create a belief of, if I ask for help, and again, I'm being very sort of general because it could be a bit of a loaded question there, what you're asking me. I'm not sure of what the context is. You know, there is independence, and I think we can go too far in our independent side of things versus, are you asking for help for, you know, to be rescued? Or are you asking for help in the opportunity of it's something you don't understand and that you actually do need help? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you, Rachel. So thank you to our presenter today, Rachael Downie, for her presentation from Survive to Thrive. Today's webinar was part of WorkSafe Tasmania Month. Please head to worksafe.tas.gov.au to find out what else is running throughout the month of October here in Tasmania for WorkSafe Tasmania Month. Today's webinar has also been recorded and will be made available shortly on WorkSafe Tasmania's YouTube channel. So thank you to Rachael Downie and thank you to everyone for attending.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come here today, Stephanie.
Thanks, Rachel.